The skeletal remains of Earth's orbital shipyards stretched across the void like broken fingers reaching for the stars. Commander Sarah Chen watched through the shuttle's viewport as they passed through the debris field, each twisted piece of metal a testament to humanity's recent defeats. The Kraxan Empire had struck hard and fast, their energy weapons cutting through humanity's most advanced shields like paper. ETA 5 minutes to the preservation dock, the pilot announced, banking the shuttle around a massive support strut. Sarah nodded, her attention fixed on their destination, a massive enclosed dock that hadn't been opened in 50 years. Inside waited humanity's oldest serving warship, the HSS Thunder. Most called it a relic, a museum piece kept intact for historical value. But Sarah knew better. She'd spent the last 3 months studying the ship's original specifications, and what she'd found had given Earth's Defense Command its first real hope since the war began. The shuttle slipped through the dock's atmospheric shield, and Sarah got her first real look at the Thunder. Nearly 2 kilometers long, its hull was a series of overlapping plates that gave it the appearance of a mechanical leviathan. Unlike modern warships with their sleek lines and energy-efficient designs, the Thunder was built like a fortress, over-engineered to survive punishment that would vaporize today's vessels. "Beautiful, isn't she?" A gravelly voice spoke from behind Sarah. She turned to find Chief Engineer Marcus Wong, his weathered face creased in a smile. "They sure don't build them like this anymore." "That's precisely why we're here, Chief," Sarah replied, gathering her tablet and briefcase. "The Kraxan have adapted to every weapon and defense we've developed in the last century. But this ship, she's something they've never encountered." The shuttle landed, and Sarah led her small team onto the Thunder's main hangar deck. The air was stale but breathable. The preservation systems had done their job well. Emergency lighting cast everything in a soft blue glow, creating shadows that danced along the massive internal structure. "Primary systems are in hibernation," Marcus reported, checking his diagnostic tool. "But the quantum crystalline core is still active, just like you predicted, Commander." Sarah allowed herself a small smile. This was what had drawn her attention to the Thunder in the first place. Modern ships used antimatter reactors, clean and efficient. But the Thunder's power source was different, an experimental quantum crystalline core that had been deemed too unstable for mass production. The project had been abandoned, its research classified and forgotten. Until now. "Begin wake-up procedures," Sarah ordered, her voice echoing in the cavernous space. "I want all systems online within 48 hours. "Commander," her tactical officer, Lieutenant Raj Patel, stepped forward. "Latest intelligence suggests the Kraxan are massing for another push. We might not have 48 hours. Sarah turned to face her assembled crew. 30 of the best officers and engineers Earth had left. They were a skeleton crew for a ship this size, but that's all they could spare. Every other available hand was needed on the front lines. "Then we work faster," she said firmly. "The Thunder's quantum core operates on principles the Kraxan can't predict or counter. If we can get her operational, we might just have a chance to turn this war around." The next 36 hours were a blur of activity. Sarah moved from section to section, overseeing the revival of systems that hadn't been active since before she was born. The Thunder groaned and hummed as power began flowing through long-dormant conduits. In engineering, Marcus and his team worked tirelessly to stabilize the quantum core, which responded to their efforts with pulses of crystalline light. "It's like she knows," Marcus commented during one of their brief rest periods. "Every system we bring online, the core adjusts itself. I've never seen anything like it." Sarah had noticed it too. The Thunder seemed to be awakening not just mechanically, but almost consciously. Sensors came online faster than expected, weapon systems synchronized without the usual calibration delays, and the ancient computer cores processed commands with unexpected speed. The call they'd been dreading came 39 hours into the reactivation. "Commander to the bridge." Lieutenant Patel's voice crackled over the comm. "Long-range sensors detecting Kraxan signatures. multiple capital ships on an attack vector. Sarah sprinted through corridors still littered with diagnostic equipment, arriving on the bridge as emergency klaxons began to sound throughout the ship. The main view screen showed a tactical display of the approaching Kraxan fleet, 5 heavy cruisers and their escort vessels. "Status report," she demanded, dropping into the command chair. "Main power at 60% and climbing," Marcus reported from engineering. "Weapons are online but untested. Shield generators are responding, but we don't know how they'll hold up. Time to enemy contact. 20 minutes at their current speed," Patel answered. Sarah took a deep breath, feeling the subtle vibration of the Thunder's awakening systems through her chair. They weren't ready. The ship needed at least another day of testing and calibration. But ready or not, the fight was coming to them. "All hands to battle stations," she ordered. "Begin emergency undocking procedures. Chief Wong, give me everything you can from that core. Lieutenant Patel, warm up the main batteries. If we're going to do this, we're going to do it right." The preservation dock's massive doors began to slide open for the first time in half a century, revealing the star-filled expanse beyond. The Thunder's ancient engines rumbled to life, pushing the massive warship forward into space. On the tactical display, the Kraxan fleet adjusted course, clearly detecting their emergence. "They're targeting us," Patel reported, reading energy buildup in their forward weapons. Sarah gripped her armrests, watching as the distance closed between her untested ship and an enemy that had nearly brought humanity to its knees. "Hold course. Let them come to us." The Thunder's quantum core pulsed beneath them, its crystalline harmonics singing through the ship's structure. Whether they were ready or not, the time had come to see if this legacy of humanity's past could secure their future. The Kraxan warships approached in perfect attack formation, their obsidian hulls absorbing light rather than reflecting it. Commander Chen had studied every recorded engagement with their forces, but seeing them in person was different. Their ships moved with an organic fluidity that made them seem alive, predatory. "Enemy vessels entering weapons range in 30 seconds, Patel reported, his fingers dancing across the tactical console. "Their targeting systems are locked on our primary reactor housing." "Of course they are," Sarah muttered. The Kraxan were nothing if not predictable in their tactics. Disable the power source, then methodically tear apart the defenseless target. "Status of the quantum core." Marcus's voice came through with an odd echo. The Thunder's ancient comm systems still adapting to modern frequencies. "Core is stable but different, Commander. Power output is fluctuating, but not in a bad way. It's almost like it's anticipating something." The first Kraxan salvo lit up space between the ships, their characteristic purple energy beams slicing toward the Thunder. Sarah felt her heart rate spike, knowing that these same weapons had carved through Earth's best defenses like tissue paper. "Brace for impact," she called, but the words had barely left her mouth when something unexpected happened. The Thunder's quantum core pulsed, sending a wave of crystalline energy through the ship's superstructure. As the Kraxan beams struck their shields, they didn't penetrate. They shattered, fragmenting into harmless sparkles that dissipated against the barrier. "By all that's holy," Marcus breathed through the comm. "Commander, the core just adapted its shield frequency in real time. I've never seen anything like it." Sarah allowed herself a tight smile. Now we know why they mothballed this technology. It was too unpredictable. But unpredictable is exactly what we need. "Tactical status of main batteries." "Armed and ready," Patel responded, a new confidence in his voice. "The targeting systems are older, but they're compensating for modern evasion patterns automatically. Target the lead cruiser's port flank. Let's show them what ancient human engineering can do." The Thunder's main guns were massive affairs, running nearly a quarter of the ship's length. Unlike modern energy weapons, they fired projectiles, but projectiles encased in quantum crystalline shells. As the weapons discharged, the space between the ships lit up with brilliant streaks of blue-white light. The Kraxan ships began evasive maneuvers, But the Thunder's targeting systems proved eerily accurate. 3 shots struck the lead cruiser's shield array. The quantum-charged projectiles didn't just impact, they resonated, creating a cascade of energy that caused the alien vessel's shields to collapse completely. "Direct hit," Patil exclaimed. "Enemy vessels' defensive systems are offline. They're falling back to regroup." But Sarah noticed something else. "Chief, what's happening to our power grid?" The Thunder's internal lights were pulsing, and the deck thrummed with an increasing vibration. On her command chair display, power readings were spiking across all systems. "The core is singing, Commander," Marcus replied, awe in his voice. "Each time we fire, it's learning, adapting. Power output is up 30% and climbing. Whatever this ship was designed to do, I don't think we've seen anything close to its full potential." The Kraxan fleet was reforming, adopting a new attack pattern. Their remaining ships spread out in a classic pincer formation, attempting to flank the Thunder on multiple vectors. "They're powering up something bigger," Patel warned. "Energy readings off the scale. Looks like they're combining their weapon systems for a concentrated burst." Sarah studied the tactical display, mind racing. Modern doctrine would call for a retreat in this situation. No ship could withstand a combined Kraxan assault. But the Thunder wasn't a modern ship. "Chief, can you route all that excess power to the forward shields?" "Already on it," Marcus replied. "But Commander, even with the core's adaptations, this is going to hit us hard." Space itself seemed to distort as the Kraxan ships channeled their energy weapons into a single massive beam. The purple light was so intense it turned the bridge viewport opaque despite its automatic filtering. "All hands, brace for impact," Sarah ordered, gripping her chair as the combined blast struck the Thunder. The ancient warship shuddered violently, but held together. More than that, the quantum core screamed into life, its crystalline lattice absorbing and processing the enormous energy influx. Emergency bulkheads slammed shut throughout the ship as power conduits overloaded, but the core kept singing, kept adapting. "Impossible," one of the bridge crew whispered. The tactical display showed what they were all seeing. The Thunder was not only surviving the assault, but somehow growing stronger. "Chief," Sarah called out, "please tell me you can do something with all this extra energy." Marcus's laugh held a hint of madness. "Oh, we can do something all right. Commander, the core has reconfigured our entire weapon array. We've got enough power for a full broadside, and the crystals have somehow learned from their attack pattern." Sarah didn't fully understand the technology, but she understood opportunity. Tactical, target all enemy vessels. Full spread, maximum yield. When the Thunder fired, it wasn't just a barrage. It was a symphony of destruction. Quantum-charged projectiles rippled out in perfect sequence, each shot carrying a portion of the energy they'd absorbed from the Kraxan attack. The alien ship shields, calibrated against their own energy weapons, had no defense against this hybrid assault. 3 Kraxan cruisers lost power immediately, their hulls breached in multiple locations. A 4th spun out of formation, its drive core destabilized. Only the command ship remained combat-capable, and it was already turning to retreat. "Enemy fleet is withdrawing," Paddle reported, his voice shaking with excitement. They're running from us, Commander." Sarah leaned back in her chair, feeling the Thunder's deck plates still humming with residual energy. "Damage report. Multiple systems overloaded," Marcus replied. "We'll need at least 6 hours to restore full power distribution. But Commander, the core is stable. More than stable, it's operating at a higher efficiency than our original readings. It's like it needed this battle to fully wake up." Looking at the retreating Kraxan ships on her display, Sarah felt a surge of hope for the first time since the war began. The Thunder wasn't just a warship. It was something entirely new, a hybrid of past and present that could change everything. "Send word to Earth Defense Command," she ordered. Tell them the Thunder is awake. And she's hungry for more." The repair crews had been working for 48 hours straight, and the Thunder's corridors still sparked with exposed circuitry. Sarah stood in the ship's central crystalline chamber, watching as fractals of light danced through the massive quantum core. What had once been a steady blue glow now pulsed with ribbons of gold and white, evidence of the core's evolution during their first battle. "We've decoded another section of the original design documents," Marcus announced, his holographic form flickering beside her. The chief engineer hadn't left the engine room in 3 days, coordinating repairs while studying the Thunder's changing systems. "You're going to want to see this, Commander." Sarah approached the nearest console, brushing aside a tangle of diagnostic cables. "Show me." The display filled with schematics, not the Thunder's original blueprints, but something far more ambitious. "This isn't just a power source," Marcus explained, his voice tight with excitement. "The quantum core wasn't designed to be a reactor at all. It's a resonance engine." "Explain." "The crystalline matrix doesn't just generate energy. It learns, adapts, and most importantly, it can tune itself to match and counter any energy frequency it encounters. Those cracks and weapons we absorbed, the core didn't just defend against them. It memorized their quantum signature." Lieutenant Patel's voice cut in over the comm. "Commander, you're needed on the bridge. Long-range sensors have detected something unusual." When Sarah reached the bridge, she immediately saw what had prompted the call. The main view screen showed a massive distortion in space, roughly 2 light hours from their position. Analysis. "It's a Kraxan staging area," Patel replied, manipulating the sensor controls. "But like nothing we've seen before. They're gathering ships from across their empire, hundreds of them, and they're using some kind of quantum tether to hold them in formation." Sarah's eyes narrowed. "Quantum tether?" "Yes, ma'am. Similar frequency to their weapon systems, but much more stable. It's allowing them to maintain perfect battle coordination across the entire fleet." Marcus's voice crackled through the comm. "Commander, that's it. The resonance engine. It was designed to disrupt exactly this kind of quantum-linked formation. The original engineers must have encountered something similar, or they knew someone would eventually try it." Sarah finished. "Can we use it?" "Maybe," Marcus replied. "But we'd need to get close, much closer than our normal weapon range, and we'd have to channel everything through the core at exactly the right frequency." Sarah studied the tactical display, mind racing. The Kraxan were assembling an armada large enough to overwhelm Earth's remaining defenses through sheer numbers. But if they could disrupt their quantum tether, how long to modify our systems for this attempt? 6 hours for the modifications. "But Commander," Marcus hesitated, "this will push the core beyond anything we've tried. We might not survive the power surge." Sarah turned to her bridge crew, seeing the same mix of fear and determination in their eyes that she felt. "Send word to command. Tell them we're going to attempt a precision strike on the Kraxan staging area. Request any available ships for support, but make it clear we're not waiting." The next 6 hours were a blur of activity. The Thunder systems were reconfigured, power conduits reinforced, and non-essential sections sealed off. Sarah walked through the ship, speaking with crew members, ensuring everyone understood the risks and the stakes. "Multiple contacts approaching," Patel announced as they made final preparations. "It's the support fleet from Earth. 6 destroyers, and Commander, you're going to want to see this." The view screen showed their reinforcements, and Sarah felt her throat tighten. Among the modern destroyers were 3 more ships of the Thunder's era, recently recommissioned. Their ancient hulls bore fresh coat of paint, but there was no mistaking their distinctive design. "The Avalanche, the Tempest, and the Storm," Patel read off. "They've been reactivated with quantum cores based on our data. Not as advanced as ours, but enough to support the resonance cascade." Marcus finished. "Commander, with their help, we might actually survive this." Sarah opened a channel to the assembled fleet. "This is Commander Chen. In exactly 1 hour, we will execute a precision strike on the Kraxan staging area. Our modern destroyers will provide perimeter defense. The legacy ships will form a resonance diamond with the thunder at the center. We have one chance to disrupt their quantum tether before they launch their assault on Earth. Let's make it count. The battle plan was simultaneously simple and insanely complex. The Thunder would lead the legacy ships into range of the Kraxan Armada, their combined quantum cores building a resonance wave that would match, and then disrupt the enemy's quantum tether. The modern destroyers would screen them from conventional attacks during the approach. Enemy fleet detecting our approach, Paddle reported as they closed distance. They're breaking formation. No, wait. They're holding position. They're deploying a defensive screen, but maintaining their quantum link. They don't know what we're attempting, Sarah realized. They think this is a conventional attack. Begin resonance sequence. The Thunder's quantum core flared to life, its crystalline chamber filling with swirling energy. Around them, the other legacy ships began powering up their own cores, creating overlapping fields of quantum resonance. Power levels at maximum, Marcus called out. Resonance wave building. But Commander, the core is showing signs of strain. We're pushing it beyond its design limits. The deck plates began to vibrate as the Thunder channeled more and more power into the resonance wave. Warning alerts flashed across every console as systems redlined. Through the view screen, Sarah could see similar energy buildups in their sister ships. Kraxan vessels powering weapons, Patel warned. Their quantum link is fluctuating. Wait, something's happening. The space between the fleets seemed to ripple as the resonance wave reached critical mass. The Thunder's core screamed, crystals pulsing with blinding light. And then, like a string being plucked, the Kraxan's quantum tether snapped. The effect was immediate and catastrophic. Hundreds of alien ships, their systems dependent on the quantum link, suddenly lost coordination. Some collided, others fired weapons randomly, and still others began emergency jumps that took them in random directions. Direct hit on their command and control, Patel shouted over the chaos. Their entire battle network is collapsing. But they weren't out of danger yet. The Thunder's core was overloading, its crystalline matrix absorbing more feedback than it could handle. Emergency bulkheads slammed shut throughout the ship as power surges threatened to tear it apart. All ships, emergency withdrawal, Sarah ordered. Get clear of the resonance field. As they retreated from the disintegrating Kraxan fleet, Sarah watched the tactical display with a mixture of awe and concern. They'd struck a decisive blow, but at what cost? The Thunder systems were severely strained, and the other legacy ships weren't in much better shape. Yet as the quantum core's screams began to subside, Marcus's voice came through with an unexpected note of wonder. Commander, you need to see this. The core, it's not just stabilizing. It's evolving again. Whatever the Kraxan were using to maintain that fleet link, our crystals have absorbed the frequency. We can now generate our own quantum tether. Sarah looked at the dispersing Kraxan ships, then at their own small but united fleet. They'd just discovered a weapon that could shatter the enemy's greatest advantage. But more than that, they'd uncovered a piece of human engineering that was still revealing its secrets after half a century. Send word to Earth, she ordered. The Thunder and her sisters are battle-ready. And we got one hell of a story to tell. The Titan shipyards hung in Saturn's orbit like a web of steel and starlight, humanity's last major production facility for heavy warships. Sarah stood at the Thunder's viewport, watching as crews rushed to retrofit more vessels with quantum cores based on their discoveries. In the 2 weeks since their victory at the staging area, the Kraxan had gone silent. No raids, no probing attacks, nothing. They're planning something big, Sarah murmured, more to herself than to Lieutenant Patel, who stood beside her with a data tablet. Latest intelligence agrees with you, he replied. Our deep space sensors are detecting massive energy signatures at the edge of known space. Whatever they lost in that staging area, they're bringing in something bigger to replace it. The Thunder's internal lighting flickered briefly, something that had been happening with increasing frequency since their last battle. The quantum core wasn't just evolving anymore. It was trying to communicate. Marcus and his engineering team had been working around the clock to decode the patterns, convinced that the original designers had built something far more sophisticated than anyone had realized. Commander to engineering. Sarah called over the comm. Talk to me about these power fluctuations. You're going to want to come down here. Marcus replied, his voice tight with excitement. We found something in the crystalline structure, something that's been there all along, waiting for the right moment. The engineering deck was a maze of diagnostic equipment and holographic displays. Marcus stood in the center of it all, his eyes fixed on a complex pattern floating in the air before him, a three-dimensional representation of the quantum core's crystalline matrix. Look at this, he said as Sarah approached, manipulating the display. These aren't random energy patterns. They're language, a code left behind by the original engineers. The core wasn't just designed to power the ship or generate defensive fields. It was built to. A massive explosion rocked the shipyards, cutting him off mid-sentence. Emergency klaxons blared throughout the thunder as the tactical network lit up with warnings. Multiple Kraxon signatures. Patel's voice came through the comm. They've developed some kind of stealth drive. They're already inside our defensive perimeter. Sarah was already running for the bridge, Marcus close behind. When they arrived, the tactical display showed a nightmare scenario. Dozens of Kraxon vessels, larger than any they'd encountered before, emerging from what appeared to be folds in space itself. Phase shift technology, Marcus breathed, studying the readings. They're not just hiding their ships, they're shifting them partially out of our dimension. That's why we couldn't detect them until they were right on top of us. The first shots from the Kraxon fleet tore through the shipyard's outer defensive grid like it wasn't there. These weren't the purple energy beams they'd faced before. These weapons rippled with black energy that seemed to consume anything they touched. All hands to battle stations, Sarah ordered, dropping into her command chair. Signal the other legacy ships. Form up on our position. Modern fleet elements are to fall back and protect the civilian evacuation. As the Thunder systems came online, Sarah felt something different in the ship's vibration. The quantum core wasn't just powering up. It was singing, but not the same song they'd heard before. This was deeper, more complex, like an orchestra finding its full voice. Commander, Marcus called from his engineering station. The core is accessing subroutines we've never seen before. It's reconfiguring the entire ship. The Thunder's hull began to shimmer with crystalline energy, patterns of light racing across its surface. Around them, the other legacy ships, now numbering 8 in total, were experiencing similar transformations. Phase shift detection protocols online, Paddle reported, his hands flying over his console. The core is matching their dimensional frequency. We can track them now, even when they shift. The Kraxon fleet, perhaps sensing that their advantage was already eroding, pressed their attack. Their massive ships moved with impossible grace, shifting in and out of normal space as they fired their void-black weapons. All legacy ships, execute Pattern Delta, Sarah commanded. Let's show them what these old birds can really do. The Thunder led the formation into battle, its quantum core pulsing in perfect harmony with its sisters. As the Kraxon weapons struck their crystalline shields, something extraordinary happened. Instead of trying to block the energy, the shields absorbed it, channeling it through the ship's matrices. Energy conversion at 300% efficiency, Marcus reported, his voice filled with wonder. The cores are using their attacks to power our own weapons. This is what they were designed for, not just fighting, but adapting, evolving. The battle that followed would later be called the Dance of Giants. Ancient human warships and advanced alien vessels weaving through Saturn's rings, their weapons lighting up the space around Titan like newborn stars. The Thunder and its fleet moved as one, their quantum cores linked in a symphony of crystalline resonance that allowed them to predict and counter every Kraxon maneuver. But the enemy was far from defeated. A particularly massive Kraxon vessel, easily twice the size of the Thunder, phase shifted directly into their formation, its weapons blazing with void energy. "Direct hit on the Tempest," Patel shouted. "Their core is destabilizing." Sarah watched as one of their sister ships began to break apart, its quantum core overloading from the assault. But even as the Tempest died, its core released one final pulse of energy. Energy that the Thunder's matrix absorbed and processed. "Commander," Marcus called out, his voice shaking, "remember that code we found?" The core just finished translating it. "This isn't just a power source or a weapon system. The original engineers built these ships to be evolutionary engines. Each battle, each encounter with new technology, makes them stronger." And now, the Thunder's quantum core flared with unprecedented brightness, its crystalline energy spreading throughout the ship's structure. Sarah felt the deck plates hum beneath her feet as new systems came online. Systems that had laid dormant for 50 years, waiting for precisely this moment. "All legacy ships," she commanded, "prepare for full quantum synchronization. We're about to show the Kraxan what these relics can really do." The tide of battle was about to turn, but as Sarah gripped her command chair, she couldn't help but wonder, what else had the Thunder's creators hidden within its crystalline heart? And were they truly ready for what would happen when those secrets were fully unleashed? The Thunder's quantum core pulsed with blinding intensity as ancient protocols activated throughout its systems. The crystalline matrix that had once been confined to engineering now spread through the entire ship, transforming bulkheads and hull plates into living crystal. Around them, the remaining legacy ships underwent similar metamorphoses, their forms shifting into something that straddled the line between technology and artistry. "Full quantum synchronization in 3 minutes," Marcus announced, his voice filled with awe as he watched his engineering displays rewrite themselves with information that had laid dormant for half a century. "Commander, the core is accessing capabilities we never imagined. This isn't just adaptation, it's transcendence." Through the crystallized viewport, Sarah watched as the Kraxan fleet regrouped. Their massive ships were still phase-shifting in and out of normal space, but now she could see patterns in their movements, rhythms in their dimensional dancing. The Thunder's evolved sensors tracked every fluctuation, every ripple in reality. "New message decoded from the core's original programming," Paddle reported. It's a message from the Thunder's creators, playing shipwide." A voice filled the bridge, crackling with age, but clear in its purpose. "If you're hearing this, humanity has encountered an enemy that forces us to evolve or perish." The Thunder and her sister ships were not built merely as weapons, but as seeds, crystalline engines of adaptation planted throughout human space, waiting for the moment when conventional technology would fail us. "What you have awakened is our legacy, our gift to the future. Use it wisely." Sarah felt a shiver run down her spine as she realized the truth. "They knew," she whispered. "Somehow, they knew we'd face something like the Kraxan. They built these ships not for their time, but for ours." The Kraxan flagship, a behemoth of twisted metal and dark energy, began charging its main weapon. Space itself seemed to warp around its bow as it gathered power for what would clearly be a devastating strike. "All legacy ships, complete synchronization," Sarah ordered. "Form the crystal lattice just like the core is showing us. Trust in what we've become." The Thunder took point position as the legacy fleet arranged itself in a complex geometric pattern. Energy flowed between the ships, their quantum cores singing in harmony as crystalline strands of pure light connected them. They were no longer separate vessels but facets of a single entity, a living weapon brought forth from humanity's past. "Kraxan vessel firing," Patel warned. The enemy flagship's weapon discharged, sending a beam of void energy that threatened to tear reality itself. But as it struck the legacy fleet's crystalline lattice, something extraordinary happened. Instead of destroying them, the energy was caught, channeled, and transformed. "The cores are rewriting the laws of physics in our local space," Marcus reported, his voice filled with wonder. "We're not just absorbing their attack, we're changing its fundamental nature. Commander, We can send it back. Sarah's hands gripped her command chair as she felt the thunder vibrate with power beyond anything she'd imagined possible. All ships, prepare for full convergence. Return their gift with interest. The Legacy fleet's crystalline lattice began to spin faster and faster, transforming the stolen void energy into something new. When they fired, it wasn't a weapon in any conventional sense. It was a wave of pure quantum possibility, a ripple in the fabric of space-time itself. The effect on the Kraxan fleet was catastrophic. Ships caught in the wave didn't explode or break apart. They simply ceased to exist in their current form, their matter and energy redistributed across multiple dimensional planes. The few vessels that avoided direct contact found their phase shift technology backfiring, trapping them in a state of partial existence. Enemy fleet is in full retreat, Patil announced. Their flagship. It's trying to maintain cohesion, but the quantum wave is still expanding. Sarah watched as the massive Kraxan vessel struggled against the power they'd unleashed. Open a channel to their commander. The view screen flickered to life, showing an alien bridge crystallizing much like their own had. The Kraxan commander, a towering figure of iridescent scales and compound eyes, regarded Sarah with what might have been respect. "You have awakened something beyond your understanding," the alien said, its translator struggling with the concept. "As we did, ages ago. Perhaps that is why your ancestors built these engines. Not to destroy us, but to force us both to evolve." The Thunder's quantum core pulsed again, and Sarah felt understanding flood through her consciousness. They weren't just planning for war, she realized. They were planning for transformation. "Chief, are you seeing this?" "Yes," Marcus replied softly. "The final code is unlocking. The quantum cores weren't designed to defeat the Kraxan. They were designed to bridge the gap between us, to force both sides to transcend their limitations and find harmony." The crystalline lattice connecting the Legacy fleet began to extend tendrils of light toward the remaining Kraxan ships. Not to destroy them, but to connect with them, to share the quantum resonance that had transformed the human vessels. "Your ancestors were wise," the Kraxan commander acknowledged as the crystal began spreading through their own ships. "They understood that true victory lies not in destruction, but in transformation. We accept your offer of evolution." Sarah stood on her crystalline bridge, watching as human and Kraxan ships began a new dance, not of combat, but of cooperation. The Thunder's quantum core sang with joy as it fulfilled its true purpose, not as a weapon of war, but as a catalyst for change. "Send word to Earth," she ordered, though she knew the message hardly mattered now. What they had unleashed here would spread across both civilizations, transforming technology, society, and the very nature of existence itself. Tell them that the Thunder's legacy was never about thunder at all. It was about the peace that follows the storm. The combined fleet hung in space around Saturn's rings, their crystalline forms casting prismatic light across the solar system. They were no longer simply ships, nor were they merely weapons. They had become something new, something that bridged the gap between past and future, between human and alien, between war and peace. And in the heart of the Thunder, the quantum core pulsed with satisfaction, its ancient purpose finally fulfilled. The seeds planted by humanity's past had bloomed into a garden of infinite possibility, promising a future that neither humans nor Kraxan could have imagined alone. The storm had passed. The evolution had begun.